Alright, so there's this video called by this girl called UnpoeticJustice. I think I may have had a look at this video briefly. I don't know if I watched the whole thing, but Nick's responded to it. It's about the super mega drama. Obviously, we covered that quite extensively here. Yeah, I think we looked at this video briefly. She's got some criticisms here. We'll just see what she says, I guess, and then we'll take a look at Nick's response.
I like to report on news as quickly as I can, and I did so with both my videos in this.
I suppose I'll give a quick rundown, okay, guys? So if you weren't here for the super mega drama, or somehow you missed it, it was quite a big thing across the internet. Essentially, Nick was involved in a little group of friends, mainly headed by this girl called Lex Updog, who put forth allegations against these content creators called Supermega, accusing them of accusing one of their artists of raping her and one of their, or like sexually assaulting her, and one of their manager guy of being like kind of weird and pushy at a party, I believe. And then like 2 hours of just totally unrelated like ranting about minor personal slights that occurred with these people, where she's like, well, they let me live in their place for like 6 months without paying any rent, but they made me clean. They made me clean up after myself. And it was like that for like 2 hours. It was absolutely painful. So, NickIsNotGreen and all the other people got called out pretty heavily on it. NickIsNotGreen made a pretty awful video where he sat there, and there was a moment where he's just sitting there watching Matt from Super Mega get punched in the face at Creator Clash over and over again. Just like as part of his like rape allegations that his friends made video. Very strange stuff, like where he was really thrilled to be, you know, hearing that these people had raped or someone had raped someone around these people, you know. Very strange behavior. Got a very bad response, I think, from his community ultimately. But we'll see exactly how this UnpoeticJustice person frames it.
Case, but specifically with this story, I should have absolutely waited on a response by Supermega and made one big video about it rather than separating both stories, and I'm very sorry to everybody involved for making that mistake.
I didn't think that I would be making a follow-up video about the Supermega controversy so soon, but surprisingly, a day after I posted my video about my thoughts on the situation, Ryan from Supermega tweeted out an additional response where he demanded an unambiguous apology.
Chud said you discovered the drama, which led him to share it with Turkey Tom, who shared Destiny. Did Chud let Turkey Tom know about it? Did that really happen? But yeah, I mean, I spoke to Chud. I mean, where was it? Probably gonna find when the DMs were, but basically, yeah, I covered it basically when the video first dropped, and then the next day, I think I spoke to Chud. I posted the video, and I told him about it. And he was like, oh, damn, that's doing pretty well. And I think he went to DK and he was like, oh, the Kuihman Super Mega videos are doing really well. We should get some up. I think he said all this on stream before, if you've been around for it. But I mean, you know, let's be honest, it wouldn't be the first time I've been a bit of a trendsetter or a forerunner. Let's, just saying, okay? Just saying. A bit of a trailblazer, okay? Just saying. Anyway.
From everyone involved regarding the mentions of he and Matt's deceased friend and all of the character assassinations made in reference to it. And that's fair and remarkably reasonable given everything said. Before we move on though, understand that when allegations of any kind, of any caliber, are brought to the internet by anyone, we should fully expect for the accused to come hard as fuck against the accuser. That's their right and their prerogative. But in response to Ryan, Nick of NickIsNotGreen or Green is Not Nick created a video addressing some of the criticisms he's been receiving for his coverage on this situation. And unsurprisingly, it was not very well received for multiple reasons, starting with the fact that for many his—
Okay, so that video, was that the one where he's like, listen guys, I just wanted to make a video to back up my friend. Listen guys, I understand I may have done something wrong, but you have to understand I wanted to make a video to back up my friend, so I spread these allegations without vetting them. That was that video, yeah? Yeah, okay.
His apology regarding the mentions of Matt and Ryan's friend seemed to be hollow because it was surrounded by insults towards the guys and their channel.
I will say I believe there is a difference between exploiting someone's suicide and including it as a part of someone's experience when making a video about the story. I'm sorry that I talked about Daniel in the video. I think it would have been worse for me to ignore it altogether, but I should have condemned it when it originally came up in Lex and Layden's story. Based off their reaction and the way that they turned the narrative on their friend who was assaulted in Matt's house, I fully believe that Matt and Ryan support the conspiracy that Lex's video is nothing but a hit piece on them to ruin their career. Another claim being made about me is that I
mean, it was, right? Pretty obviously. Pretty, but I mean, like 2 of the 3 hours in this video, or like 2 hours, 20 minutes of the 2.5 hour video were just about minor personal slights that had occurred unrelated to the sexual assault.
Made my video about supermega for clout and attention. If you look at my channel, especially right before I made my videos on supermega, you'll see that I don't need or want clout or attention from them. My TikTok drama audience does not overlap with a dying Let's Play channel.
Content creators have a tendency to ignore all constructive criticisms in favor of addressing only the stupid and the nastiest comments obviously made from people just trying to defend their faves, and that's precisely what Nick did here in a lot of ways.
But isn't that something that Hassan does as well? Doesn't he pick out like the dumbest comments from chat all the time? It's like a form of straw man, really, isn't it? Where you pull up just like the absolute dumbest person you can find in your audience, and then you destroy them, and it makes it seem like all the criticism of you is unfounded. To be fair, my DGGA debates were a little bit like that, let's be real. Especially with fucking that Sarah freak.
Nick addressed Ryan's direct call out of him for not apologizing for bringing up their friend during his coverage, but Nick seems to have framed this as either Ryan or supermega supporters believe that he was using this as a way to capitalize.
In his statement, he directly mentions me and tags my social media, claiming that I was exploiting Daniel's suicide by including what Layden and Lex said in my video.
Now, I have seen some pretty wild comments from people within supermega's fan base, so I really wouldn't put it past someone to suggest something like that, but supermega also does have a pretty large following, and I know some of them have been receptive to my particular coverage. Though I don't condemn supermega to being horrible people, I do recognize where they could have done better without barring them from growth. But I also had a more understanding slant towards Lex, even though I would also probably characterize her as a bit entitled and a little overzealous. The overall point of my original video was to try to get people to perceive Matt, Ryan, and Lex as people who are imperfect but still worthy of respect, even if they all had missteps. And most importantly, helping people understand that an alleged victim should not have to be perfect in every single way in order for you to extend some level of understanding, or at least just common courtesy. Some people
she's kind of prattling here.
Didn't like that because they perceive her to be a liar, but overall the comment section does have a good amount of self-proclaimed supermega fans who were receptive to my perspective, so I know they ain't all unreasonable. And unless you guys can show me where, I don't believe Ryan ever said Nick's capitalizing off of the suicide in particular. If anything, I would say that he and Matt were more deeply affected by not only the mention of their friend's death, but the happening and their subsequent grieving process being used as a way to paint them as bad people. And to some extent, I think that that's worse, because it means that those making the accusations, including Lex, Layton, and Morgan, have no boundaries and see everything as fair game while expecting sympathy to be extended to them.
Okay, no, she's spitting here. She's spitting here. Fair enough. Okay.
There's a level of acknowledging and understanding the optics of what you're saying and how you're saying it that wasn't fully met here. And I do believe Nick fully acknowledged that he should have condemned the use of Ryan and Matt's alleged comments on their friend's death as discussed in Lex's video during his initial cover.
But it feels like she's saying that the issue was the presentation of the points and not the meaning of the points themselves. But no, the meaning of the points that Lex and Nick were trying to make were both pretty bad anyway. No? Like, I don't think there's any excuse for... Like, it wasn't an optics issue. Lex's problem was not an optics issue. It was an issue with the core of the stuff she was saying. Like talking about how she's going homeless and could only afford a 2019 Range Rover or whatever the fuck it was, you know. But that stuff is obviously insane to say. The crying about the fact you got kicked out of a place you're paying no rent for. That's insane. Like, the meaning of that is insane. It's not just an optics issue.
Daniel's suicide should not have been a part of the story told by Lex and Layden.
But I also believe that he hides behind the sentiment of supporting the victim to a very large extent. When Nick speaks on Lex's alleged sexual assault, he constantly refers to Don, the accused, as a sex offender without the use of the word alleged.
There is also evidence that Don asked people publicly.
I feel like if you're going to say sex offender, you're talking about being on like a sex offender register or being charged with a sex offense. I feel like just calling someone a sex offender because they had a potentially unconsensual, or potentially, even by Lex's thing, it's like, it wasn't like full-blown rape, right? He just sort of like kept asking and then pushed her head down when she didn't want her to. He didn't want her to. But it wasn't full-blown anyway, so calling like a sex offender, like, that's an insane framing. You got to be nicer to this poor lady. She probably watched your vids for research. I'm not being mean to Unpoetic Justice here. I doubt she watched my vids for research. Come on now, get real.
About housing in Los Angeles, and that Super Mega fans offered places for Don to stay under the impression that he was still on good terms with Super Mega, and definitely under the impression that he was not a sex offender.
This is something that has been noted in most coverage on Nick, and rightfully so, because it is grating. When you call someone a sexual assaulter or a rapist or a sex offender without the term alleged in front of it, you are signaling to your audience that this person is 100% that thing. If you are American or Canadian, or if your country's legal system mirrors ours in any way, you are also signaling that the accused has undergone due process and has been prosecuted in some way in a formal legal sense. People like Nick often drop the word alleged because they believe that this is the best way to show unwavering support towards the victim, and that is untrue. What it actually does is spread misinformation and opens you up to willfully defaming someone.
Sorry, I totally just zoned.
Country's legal system
to stay under the impression that he was still on good terms with Super Mega, and definitely under the impression that he was not a sex offender.
This is something that has been noted in most coverage on Nick, and rightfully so, because it is grating. When you call someone a sexual assaulter or a rapist or a sex offender without the term alleged in front of it, you are signaling to your audience that this person is 100% that thing. If you are American or Canadian, or if your country's legal system mirrors ours in any way, you are also signaling that the accused has undergone due process and has been prosecuted in some way in a—
Yeah, okay, yeah, this is based in true Unpoetic Justice dub. I don't know that for the term sex offender, I agree with the due process point, because it does seem like a sex, because it evokes the sex offender registry, right? That's what your immediate is, a sex offender register. That's what your mind is immediately going to. So it implies you have gone through the process. With stuff like, if someone calls someone a rapist, even if there's been no due process, if there's like pretty good evidence that it probably happened, like if you've got like messages about the person admitting or something, they may not have gone through the process, but I would still be fine with someone calling them a rapist, you know? Yeah, alleged sex offender doesn't make sense because it's the offense. Yeah, there has to have been the offense, and the offense is referring to the criminal act, right? The registry thing is something expected, but it's the conviction that's important, because other crimes have no registry. Wait, but I'm talking about, because Nick specifically used the term sex offender. Okay, we're gonna get stuck on this, but my issue is that when you say sex offender, you do specifically evoke the idea of the criminal justice process. That is what you're baking that into that phrase. That's in the connotations. It's not so much there with rapist, right? Yeah, okay. I think we all agree. Cool. Okay.
formal legal sense. People like Nick often drop the word alleged because they believe that this is the best way to show unwavering support towards the victim, and that is untrue. What it actually does is spread misinformation and opens you up to willfully defaming someone, which can result in a lack of trust from your audience. And in some ways, it can be argued that if a person reporting these claims is untrustworthy, that can lead to distrust of the alleged victim themselves.
Well, yeah, especially if you're like connected. Like if there's a direct association there, yeah, obviously it's just. I feel like Nick and Ethan did probably more damage to Lex's story. Nick, Ethan, and Leighton did more damage to Lex's story than Lex herself. She probably would have gotten away with it completely if it weren't for their actions. But that stream when Ethan's sitting there, you know, lighting up with Lex, laughing about their sub count going down, the awful Nick videos. Those did the real damage to the public perception of this.
Especially if the victim happened to reach out to the creator for support, like Lex apparently did with Nick.
Lex posted her story, and I was asked by her and Ethan to potentially talk about it on my channel because I've talked about similar situations in the past.
The victim, the survivor telling the story, is the only person who can drop the term alleged without scrutiny because they are speaking from their own personal experience. As outsiders, we may drop the alleged in personal conversations, but online? In public? In front of people? It's a nah. And it's so important. It protects your integrity as the one reporting on the situation, and it also shows that while you can be steadfast in pushing back against the very accepted culture of impulsively disbelieving survivors, you simultaneously respect the tenet of innocent until proven guilty, thereby discouraging witch hunts. You can do both at the same time. But let's wrap back around to the capitalizing thing. And I'm gonna bypass the capitalizing on suicide accusation because I do believe that is boiling things down a bit too much. A genuine criticism that I was reluctant to push onto Nick in my original video is gaining social capital from covering survivors' testimonies. I see a lot of people saying that he did this for money, but I would have to disagree. Nick probably makes an ungodly amount of money from his content. I'm actually going to steer away from his channel with this next point because I don't really want to demoralize channels that I'm not heavily familiar with. But for progressive or left-leaning video essayists or commentators, there is much more to be gained from covering a situation like this than just money. Social capital is how they maintain
I mean, what is her leaning here? Is this girl like a centrist type, or is she like a more progressive type? Because she's just like fucking spitting here. Seeing through the Matrix. She's like Destiny. She's like Neo.
The game. Creating safe spaces, checking all people's boxes for what a good person is. These are all ways to ensure your audience sticks around even when you fumble. Both a benefit and a downfall for creators making content creation into a career is that they have to become more strategic. They learn what topics they should talk about, which ones they shouldn't, and determine which ones are worth an investment. After this video was released by Nick, I am wondering if that was a lot more accurate to him than what I originally thought. He states that he wanted to support Lex, states that he was not monetarily capitalizing because both videos were demonetized.
I didn't make any money reporting on this story, and my only objective for posting about it was to talk about a story that I felt was important.
States that the videos were not there to help his career, but he also says that he tries to be the first person to report on.
How did he get those videos demonetized? Bro, like all my content gets monetized. How do you not get monetized?
Such events.
If you know my channel, especially at that time, I was posting constantly and I was always trying to be the quickest one to get to a story.
My question is, why? Why do you do that? Would it be because you want your video to pop up first in the search engine? Because you want to be a point of reference for the situation, which can help steer a certain narrative, a certain perspective? Could it be because he wanted to show his audience how hard and how far he was willing to go for an alleged victim? I truly wish that he provided an answer as to why he wanted to be the first person to cover this. Now, we all have speculations and answers in our heads, and many of them are probably not going to paint him in a very positive light. According to Nick himself,
he doesn't paint himself in a very positive light. Let's be real. Like it's all just his own actions.
to come to a conclusion without hearing from the primary source themselves.
You cannot watch a video from another creator, or even from Matt and Ryan claiming that I am a liar, without even watching the content that I made in the first place. That is the definition of attacking someone in bad faith.
And yet, he published a reactionary video about supermega prior to their response.
Okay, she misused the term reactionary there, but that's okay.
And I'll give him credit where credit is due because he did speak to this.
Specifically with this story, I should
Unless is there also, can you also use it in that context? I'm not sure actually.
On a response by supermega and made one big video about it rather than separating both stories. And I am very sorry to everybody involved for making that mistake. I definitely need to take a look at my content and look at the way that I can impact other people as a result of telling my stories.
Reactive, yeah, reactive, I think is what you would use in that context. Reactionary specifically for the political terminology, I think.
But when we think a little deeper, this must be something that he has always believed as a seasoned, affluent content creator. He knows first-handedly what it feels like for people to come to a conclusion about you based on someone else's opinion. So why did he allow himself to fall into that very same pattern? Destiny's theory is that it's because he's a bully, but he bullies people who many would consider to be bad, so it's okay.
I don't like this new, like this new iteration of, I don't want to call them cry bullies, I guess woke scolding, like the woke scolding bullies. Like when I look at people like Nick, the archetype of Nick as a person is he is a bully, and a lot of these people are bullies, but because they have like the woke demeanor, they somehow like skirt by that. But
I mean, see, if Destiny was a real Chod Logic fan, he would have pulled out the Aldous Huxley quote right now, okay?
yeah, they very much
just like it's bullying, but it's for the right reason.
Exactly. They enjoy watching other people go down. They enjoy like with people's careers. They like the gossip.
Kind of similar to the logic around iDubbbz's content comp videos.
As you can probably tell, I can hardly contain myself right now, because today is the day we get to bully Leafy.
My theory, however, is that like most people, standards that Nick has for other people are true for them, but not for him. But he tends to skate by this contradiction because his audience believes him to be generally a good person trying to do the right thing. Hence, a reliance on social capital. Nick also takes the stance in this video that if you do not agree with him on the following, then perhaps you should not consume his content.
Matt Watson and Ryan McGee put their audience at risk and lied to the people who watched them because they knew it would negatively affect their image. If you do not agree with me on that, then I do not think that you should watch or consume my content.
And that is just a wild thing to say. Maybe for Nick, someone who is actually friends with Lex and has interacted with the other players involved here, maybe that makes sense to him to come to that sort of conclusion. But for us, the outsiders, the watchers, most people don't even seem to have a firm yay or nay when it comes to this entire event. Because then let's talk about it. Let's talk about what actions Matt and Ryan should have taken regarding Dawn. The whole
Oh god, here we go. So we gotta fully litigate this. All right, let's go. Let's see what the take is.
whole accusation of covering up Lex's alleged sexual assault centers around their lack of immediate transparency to their fans, right?
I've seen creators who have firsthand experienced the backlash of telling a story as a victim online who are now backing up supermega as if they both didn't fully admit to covering up their friend and employee sexually assaulting.
Okay, let's predict a point here. We're gonna predict each point. We're gonna try to. She's gonna point out that Lex wanted to keep it private.
Another one of their friends. There is verifiable proof that after supermega finally let Don go, they didn't tell their fans the reasoning for firing him after weeks of questions about his disappearance from the channel.
So what should they have done? Posted to hundreds of thousands of people about Don allegedly sexually assaulting Lex without evidence? Or should they have just vaguely said, hey guys, we believe Don hurt one of our friends, so please don't allow him to stay with you? That sounds reasonable when you're looking at it in hindsight, but look at what has ensued from this current controversy. Do you guys really think if they made a posting like that?
I mean, yeah, she's just. I've got nothing to say to this. She's totally spitting here, 100%. Yeah, like it would have been absolutely insane for them to come out with a public statement at the time with no proof, not even evidence, just claims.
That it would have blown over very well.
And plus, it's like one of their employees are a contractor, right? So like, it's just such a weird. It would be such a weird way to handle it.
Mega fans would have rightfully asked more questions, and some probably would have done some digging and some investigating. Both Super Mega and Dawn would have been endlessly pressured to speak on this issue further had it been posted like that, and this would have probably led to the eventual outing of Lex as the alleged victim, who at the time, a year ago,
no, we did hit.
did not seek to be part of a public announcement. I think the right answer is hard to find here, and I really hate the framing that this would have been an easy thing to approach, because any step that anyone would have made would have played out negatively in some form or fashion. To suggest that showing care towards the alleged victim and audience members while protecting the integrity of their business and themselves would have been easy is a flagrant disregard to the nuance that surrounds sexual assault allegations, especially the ones that are levied online. I don't believe pushing your audience into an ultimatum of sorts by grandstanding is the way to go here. I would have liked for Nick to expand on what he thought Super Mega's best alternative would have been and why. I would have wanted him to actually engage with his ideas fully, thoroughly, and convincingly without just saying either you agree with me or you don't. That's not how we create a more thoughtful environment and space for survivors and their testimonies. I know that this could have been seen as a content creator just setting a boundary, but demanding agreement on something that most of us still don't even have a crystal clear image of without watching hours and hours of content is ridiculous. Intentionally locking oneself inside of an echo chamber is how growth is prevented. Nick probably would not have known that his method of covering the Super Mega drama left more to be desired if he had been encased in an echo chamber. Overall, this video from Nick to me was unnecessary because there is not one moment I can point to in it and say, I believe that is sincere regret and remorse. I think he's tired. I think that he has been worn down a bit by the internet, but I don't think that he truly believes that the controversy that he calls as an offshoot to Lex's testimony and the Super Mega controversy in general is that big of a deal. But wait, there's more, because of course there is. I was finishing editing this video when, surprise, surprise, Nick posted another follow-up to the situation as a part of an unrelated video on Mr. Beast. In 4 minutes or less, Nick addresses his more
Wait, I didn't even know this. He dropped like just random talk about Super Mega in a totally unrelated video.
Developed feelings on his coverage of Lex and Super Mega. He has now come to the conclusion that—
So guys, you guys are ill. Really? You just see a pair of tits and you just start losing your mind. You are just so ill. Look, listen, okay, that would be me, but she's not even that bad. Come on, bro.
he should not have made these videos due to his proximity to Lex. And as I stated in my original analysis, this is something I firmly agree with.
I want to address this issue and talk about how I inappropriately handled reporting on a story that I should not have reported on. I'm realizing pretty late that I was too close to the story, and regardless on my personal feelings for the situation, it was irresponsible for me to involve myself and my platform into a conflict that really had nothing to do with me.
Nick showing his friend Lex unwavering support and validation regarding her allegation towards Dawn and the deterioration of her friendship with Super Mega was never the—
Thank you for the refreshing memberships, guys. Oh My Dog and Not Owen. Thank you, thank you.
issue I cared about. Most survivors would—
Great time to remind you guys, please like, subscribe, buy a membership, gift a membership, buy a super chat if you can. Thank you very much.
Kill to have a friend believe them outright. That is not as common of a trait as many people would like to believe. However, there is a difference in believing Lex, supporting Lex, and condemning people who were not even the ones accused of sexually assaulting her. Nick, with his expansive public platform, did not understand this. Or at least so he says.
And through thinking about this situation, I realized that there is so much that I could have done better. I should not be involved or be a part of this story, and I should not have agreed to cover it when Ethan and Lex approached me with the idea. And now I do still want to say that even with them asking me, I don't think they had intentions to lie or to put my career in a bad spot. I was still irresponsible by accepting it. There are ways to support a victim story as a friend, and this was just not the right way to do it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have a hard time believing he just didn't consider this at all, considering he has covered his friends' testimonies before, a la Sabrina and Gus Johnson. Nick did not only do what he thought—
Didn't he fuck up that Gus Johnson stuff as well? I haven't looked into that properly. What was the deal there? Didn't Gus Johnson agree with this girl that they were gonna abort a kid if she got pregnant, and then she got pregnant, changed her mind, and he was like quote unquote pressuring her to get an abortion? Wasn't that the story there? And then Nick did a total hit piece being like, oh, he's abusive, you know, manipulated her into getting an abortion. He was a shit boyfriend. Many such cases of shit boyfriends being called out. Yet Mama Max gets away with it, and Mutahar just pretends that was just being a shit boyfriend. Oh man. It's also blackpilling. It's also blackpilling. It makes me rage so bad. Like, I didn't see Nick railing against Mama Max. I didn't see that when those allegations came out. Because you can't go after the pedo hunter, can you? Because guys, he's stopping pedos. He's stopping kids being molested. That means he can't do anything wrong. I need to not just sit here and seethe about Mama Max.
Was right by way of Lex, but he also did what he thought he could get away with. He relied on his audience's empathy and sympathy towards survivors and the vitriol some people feel towards anyone who disbelieves them. But what makes the situation different from the Sabrina Gus controversy is that Gus Johnson was actually the person accused of victimizing Sabrina. Supermega was, in my opinion, unempathetic and callous towards Lex. They made her feel unseen and uncared for, and that is something that both Matt and Ryan have acknowledged. That makes them bad friends. That means that they owe Lex an apology. That does not, however, make them horrible people who need to be constantly aligned with an accused sexual assaulter.
I mean, yeah, just straight spit in here. I really do. I never watched Supermega, but I really do hope they come back. And I'll never watch any of their content ever. But I do hope they come back. I hope they keep their career. Especially because that, what's his name? Matt did, a video with, or a song with Kara Benito. And, that's based. Or with Sarah Benito anyway. That's fucking based. That was a good song.
This little update that I believe was made specifically for his audience rather than his critiquers, Nick officially distanced himself from the controversy entirely for the sake of his platform and credibility.
I want to be responsible with my platform regardless of how I feel about the opposing party, and I let down my audience by doing that. I am sorry for how I handled this. I hope that you trust me to grow. I tend to get defensive when it comes to the way that victims are treated online and how they've been treated in the past, and I don't think it's fair for me to back off of a belief I have when I know that a victim is not able to do that, that they are inherently attached to what has happened to them. Regardless of that, I let that get in the way, and whatever happens with this situation moving forward, I am not a part of it. I do not associate myself with anyone involved, and by no means does that mean that I'm fully discrediting Lex's story. By no means does that mean I'm fully—
Is that fault for not defending themselves? Same with Andrew Callahan, but they did defend themselves.
Siding with Supermega. I'm truly trying to do what is right for my platform. I don't want my career to be defined by situations—
Is the Lex vid actually happening? I figured that was just not happening.
Situations like this, and this is not at all the kind of content I want to create. This is not the kind of situation that I ever want to even be a part of in the future.
And I just okay. Whether he meant to do this or not, it comes off like he no longer supports victims, at least not at the expense of his reputation. And not even his reputation with his audience or his side of YouTube commentary, but his reputation as it stands with a much harsher, much less sympathetic side of YouTube. Because that's the majority of where this criticism is coming from. And there's two sides to this, because I've never subscribed to the idea that creators, influencers, celebrities, or anyone should feel pressure to discuss events or topics that they are not comfortable with or not informed enough about. People pushing that idea is why we see so much performativity. On the other hand, Nick is one of the only commentaries in that particular sphere who has a track record of always trying to take up for survivors, for better or for worse. Instead of just washing his hands of these kind of topics in general, I would have liked for him to strive to understand how he can do better, how he can engage with people whose gut reaction is to disbelieve survivors'
like
testimonies.
Lex.
I thought he
I can't believe she survived 6 months in the super mega apartment paying 0 rent.
Wanted to be a part of the change around this particular culture online and in life. But I guess that was just my mistake for assuming a commentator whose mission has always been to grow his platform as swiftly and as effectively as possible would be willing and able to bear the brunt of the horrible comments people tend to direct towards the survivors. I understand not wanting to put in the effort required to discuss these types of complex issues from a nuanced perspective that supports the survivor and maintains your integrity. But damn, I didn't expect for him to just walk away from this charge in general. It's one thing to pivot your platform into just doing more comedic content, just doing light and airy dramas, but it's another to put it in the way that he did in this little update. But I am interested to see what you guys think, particularly if you're fans of Nick. You guys know his content better than I do, so what do you guys think? How are you reading his video? Do you think that it's genuine? Am I being too critical here? But I think that's all I have for you guys today. Pretty quick video. I know that Lex may have some kind of follow-up to this controversy. Not sure if I'm gonna cover that. It kind of depends on what she says and if I feel like I actually have something more to add.
I mean, it's been months since this.
But until then, please remember to like and subscribe.
Okay, well, cool. All right, well, good video. Let's see what NickIsNotGreen had to say about it. I make harmful content. This needs to change. Okay. All right, Nick. What you got, buddy? See if this is some good groveling.
In this video, I want to address how I have made my content throughout my time on this platform, but more specifically with a series of videos I made regarding Super Mega. If you're unsure about what happened, I'm going to be talking about a lot of my specific actions in this video, but if you want a more detailed overview, I would watch this video by UnpoeticJustice that summarized and documented a lot of what happened since July. I'm going to be linking that video in the description. For the past 6 months, I have been defending myself against criticism for how I use my platform.
Damn, no way it was 6 months ago. That's fucking wild. Man, that's gone quick. Bro.
In a series of videos I made attacking Matt Watson and Ryan McGee of Super Mega. I stubbornly persisted and posted videos thinking that I was somehow the victim in this drama that was stoked by YouTubers that friends of mine had a bad experience with. In December, I decided to take a step back from posting videos, and over the span of the last month or so, I have slowly processed and realized just how wrong I really am. And the realization of being ignorant and immature and dangerous throughout the course of this whole thing has...
Listen, he's a retard. He's a snake, generally. But I'll hear him out, okay? If he's saying, I was wrong, I was actually seriously wrong, I'll hear him out, okay? Let's see.
Not actually been a unique experience for me. This situation followed patterns of past behavior that are rooted in my character and how I respond to criticism from other people.
Okay, I mean, this is seeming okay so far.
And I realized that I'm not really getting hate because of the content I make or because of the audience that I have or because everyone else is wrong. I got all this criticism because I was wrong. When I initially...
All right, we're doing okay. Nick's not winning me over. I wouldn't go that far, but certainly impressing me so far.
I started receiving criticism for these videos. I really only saw the most aggressive and the most extreme reactions to what I did. And
did his channel really get hit that hard though? Is that actually true?
And I immediately ignored it and turned away from it. And not just those comments, but from people who are actual fans of mine who were worried about what I was doing. I would see certain content creators making countless videos.
Did it? Let me check that. Let me see if I believe you. Where did the Super Mega stuff start? Let's see, so 6 months ago. What was he doing back then? Like anywhere from like sort of 200k to a million. What, 5 months ago, a million. 700k, 700, million, 200, 500, 300. I mean, his channel has not been hit particularly hard. I mean, yeah, views are down, but these videos are also newer. You don't like it's possible that these views have crept up over time. I mean, 90% of views usually come within the first week, but it's possible these topics just weren't popping quite as well. Like, I don't think you can say this channel got hit hard from this. Is there like anything that is Social Blade? Is that going to show me anything? What's this channel called again? Green is not Nick. Oh, he was losing subs. Okay. Oh yeah, so he has been bleeding subs. So what? June he gained 85,000. July he gained 70,000. August he gained 46. September he gained 16. And then October he lost 10. November he lost 26,000. December he lost 28,000. Okay. So he did lose a lot of subs. But his views are still doing pretty fine. So it's not like he was like backed into a corner or anything. If he pushed through, he probably would have just been able to ignore the controversy. So I don't think saying that it's entirely cynical is fair, because he could have totally pushed through that. I mean, like losing some subs, but your views are still going fine. Like that's it's not gonna kill you. You'll recover from that. Yeah, Scallywag is saying it was my character. It's just the way I am. I can't change. That's not what he's saying at all. That's a retarded interpretation.
Videos against me who I didn't like, and I would not take it seriously.
I don't think he's doing this because he fell out with Lex. Yeah, but I get the vibe that he fell out with Lex over this. That's the vibe I got.
At all. I would see disgusting comments about me and my friends, and I would turn away from it and refuse to give it any validity, and I would keep working through it and doing my job as if I had nothing to apologize about. I wouldn't watch the videos, I wouldn't read any of the comments. It took way too long for me to realize that not only was I wrong about the way that I have used my platform over the past few months, but a lot of the people who I shat on, who made content about me, were actually right. This is the 5th time I've responded to this, and every single time before this I have done or said things that have made my actions even more harmful. I wrote off any of the criticism, basically saying that the people who are making videos about me...
Yeah, he's been losing subs the last couple months, I just said that, but his views are doing fine, and he could, like, I am certain his sub growth will recover by... If he pushes through, he'll be back to growing subs by February, I imagine. February or March.
Weren't credible sources in my eyes. They were responding in bad faith. And this isn't something that I have only done in this situation, but it's something that
people only care about this shit for so long. And the super mega shit, if Lex's video never comes out, then people are going to totally not care about it.
Done during my past few years on YouTube. I never really took a fair look at what people were saying about me online, because whenever I saw the most aggressive comments, I ignored everything else, and I tried to move on as if I've done nothing wrong. I have horrible anxiety around reading or seeing content about me, and it caused me to do some very ignorant things. But without making those videos and receiving the kind of criticism I did, I don't think I would.
So I don't like the blaming on your anxiety. That's a bit weak. That's pretty weak to do that. I understand saying, listen, I'm an insecure guy and I don't like criticism. If you want to say that, that's totally fine. But I feel like the phraseology, what retarded way to say that. Is that even a word? The phrasing of... No, I think phraseology is fine. Of saying it causes him to do that. That's like insane. Well, not insane, but it's diminishing your responsibility, which is pretty cringe.
Would have come to this drastic of a realization. I think I would be making the same exact videos I was making before if...
Phrasification. Phraseology is a Ben Shapiro made-up word. Well, it's not. It's not a made-up word at all. It's a real word that means a particular mode of expression, especially one characteristic of a particular speaker or subject area. But it's just not... I didn't quite use it correctly.
None of this had happened. I surrounded myself with validation and people who insisted that I wasn't doing anything wrong. I wasn't comfortable telling people close to me that I believed I could have been wrong because I was afraid to face reality. And I see how it could be expected that I would come into this video blaming the people I surrounded myself with who enabled this kind of behavior. I could talk about how I trusted the wrong people in my life. But the reality of the situation is...
Does he mean he trusted the wrong people in his life? Who are we talking about there? Is that Beckett? Is enough? I just read Beckett from fucking Spicy Chat. Was that Lex he's talking about there?
Despite who I was friends with, despite who I chose to publicly stand with, I was the one that made the decisions to act in the way I did and react to the criticism I was getting. And when I was trusted to be a responsible content creator who is doing things that other people won't do on this platform, I turned out to be a coward. I have full control over how I edit and write and do everything on this channel, yet these mistakes still happened because they are rooted in who I am as a content creator. And I had the realization that in order to use my platform in the most responsible way I could, I needed to have a complete overhaul of my behavior, and I needed to make major changes to how I make my videos, including how I receive and respond to feedback. And that's something that I need to start right now. The way that I treated online controversy.
It's not Catboy music. Shut the fuck up, Z-Quill, Z-Cool in chat here. It's not Catboy music at all. What a retarded fucking mistake. Future Funk is fucking based. Okay.
And the people involved was gross, and it is cruel, and not just in the Super Mega video, but in a lot of my videos in the past 3 years. I've made a career off publicly shaming people for mistakes that they may have desperately regretted. And of course, it's ironic that I have spent hours...
Deeper Army, you're taking a time out. You're taking a time out for that comment, okay? Come back in 5 minutes.
Hours over dozens of videos laughing at people's mistakes and the way they respond to criticism when I myself have been closed off to any criticism or feedback that I receive on my own videos. And I'm aware that I've had content in my past that people have considered harmful and that people have spoken out about, specifically my J-pop idol group video, my Love Surge video, my video about that couple breaking up. Even more of my...
So you say Sarah Benito is post-wall in my chat. That is that should have been a ban, frankly. That should have been a ban. Do not talk about Sarah Benito and the wall, okay? How disrespectful of you, Deeper Armor. How disrespectful.
And that people have spoken out about, specifically my J-pop idol group video, my Love Surge video, my video about that couple breaking up. Even more of my videos have received criticism for being too mean and promoting hate towards people who do not deserve it, and for that, I am deeply sorry. I know that I've been defensive in the past when people have criticized my channel for having opinions that are too surface level, or making videos with not enough effort. People were hurt by what I was saying and what I was making, and regardless of my intent, I chose to ignore these people and to continue making my content, and for that, I am sorry. I had my sights on making my videos efficiently and consistently without putting the proper care that is required for the kind of audience that I have. My priorities were on my growth and my income, and that drive caused me to forget about everything else that was going on around me so I could feel better about myself. And so this...
I mean, like, he's owning it, right? I don't feel like you can ask for much better of an apology than this so far. Obviously saying blaming it on his anxiety is like weak and kind of diminishes responsibility. But I mean, he seems to be owning like pretty much everything else.
Video is not only a statement and an apology, but it is a public commitment to using my platform in a way that is constructive and has integrity.
Yeah, he said, look, I was focused on making money. I was stacking that paper, and it was careless and with the facts and didn't take the proper time I should have taken to think about the content I was making. I mean, I don't know what more you can ask for. Yeah, exactly. It's his actions from here that will really show whether this was a good apology or not. As far as a statement goes, this is about as good of a statement you can get. But yeah, it's gonna come down to the actions that happen from here as to whether this apology is looked back on well or looked back on poorly.
Personally do not believe that commentary or critique videos are inherently harmful. I know plenty of content creators who do what I do in a good way, but the way that I was making content was absolutely harmful. It was careless, and it is not up to the standards that I want to set for myself moving forward. My content has lacked the care needed to deliver personal opinions that are educated and thorough, and I continually prioritize the efficiency of my content over making videos that I am truly proud of. I want to publicly apologize to Matt Watson and Ryan McGee for harmfully mishandling my coverage on a situation that I should never have been.
Okay. Look, okay. Cool. Nick is winning me over a little bit here. I'll be honest. I hated this guy 20 minutes ago. He's winning me over a little bit here. They're straight up apologizing to Matt and Ryan. That's crazy. That's pretty crazy.
And involved in. I'm sorry for repeatedly being ignorant because I was too afraid to face criticism, and I just talked and listened to people who made me feel like I was right. I made posts insulting and denying any wrongdoing on my end because I was too afraid to challenge anything else. I made my initial videos about Supermega because I had pre-existing feelings and beliefs about them based on what friends of mine told me in private, and I got angry and I wanted to fight for them. I got my emotions involved in a conflict that I had nothing to do with. I saw all of these comments as harassment to me, my friends, and my family, and it caused me to react in a destructive way. At the time, I believed that agreeing with what people were saying about me or apologizing would be turning on those close to me, and it would make me...
Yeah, I made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment. I don't expect to be forgiven. I'm simply here to apologize. Throwback, man. Holy shit.
A flawed person and content creator, but it is humiliating to come to the realization that the content I make
It's probably the best apology from anyone who has appeared on a Hassan stream, but that's a low bar.
is far from helpful or honest or safe. And the way that I deflected blame for my own actions ended up hurting both parties involved. The decisions that I made while covering the Supermega situation and the way I responded to criticism ended up hurting the people that I was trying to help in the first place because I didn't handle it with the care that was needed. Everyone was worse off because of my actions. There were people close to me that had to endure harassment because I refused to listen to those in my life who were telling me that I may have been doing something wrong. I realized that I made a mistake in my first video saying that I asked for permission to cover the story from the victim, and then later in my coverage said that I was actually asked to cover the story. Now I want to clarify that I was asked to cover this story by the victim, but that does not remove any of the accountability I need to take for how I covered the story and how I responded.
Okay, so we are getting the confirmation there that Lex... Okay. So yeah, it's looking like... Are we feeling like a late... This was a latent op? Are we feeling like it was a Lex op? Or are we feeling like it was a collaborative op? Because I know that's like the big thing that was sort of up in the air after the Supermega drama, was sort of who was really pulling the strings, so to speak, or whether it was like a group effort. Because it felt like Supermega were trying to blame it on Leighton, but at the same time, it's hard to take that totally seriously, given Lex was the first one to drop a video. It just seems like they were trying to, like, not blame Lex. Spudgun thinks it was a Lex op. Sugarlock's saying it was a collab. I thought it was probably a collab. I'm leaning towards collab. Lex and Leighton both seem like terrible fucking people, I'll be honest. Collab, but Lex at the head.
And the criticism I got from it, that is nobody's fault but mine. I used a serious situation as
it was a collab, then imploded, and when it backfired, then it was every man for himself. I think that's very possible.
As an excuse to make insults and jabs at Supermega because I got emotionally involved.
Yeah, so I'm not saying necessarily Leighton organised it all, but I believe the narrative that Supermega were putting forward was basically that Leighton had been talking about cancelling them while he was leaving the company, or just before he left the company, and then that because he was hanging around in anti-fan discords, they believed he was planning it in there, right? No, I don't think Nick was so much involved in the actual op itself. It doesn't seem that way anyway. I think it seems like Nick was like friends with them, and they were like, oh, this shit's going on, go, can you cover this, can you cover this, can you put attention on this? That seems like how it was to me. I don't see that Nick was totally involved in the planning stuff, but he might have been,
In a conflict that should have been treated with more severity, childishly insulting Matt and Ryan and thinking it's okay because I'm the good guy and they're the bad guys is an embarrassing decision that I decided to make. I made digs at Supermega's relevance. I put edits in my video of Matt getting punched in the face, all because I was convinced that it was all right to bully these people in front of hundreds of thousands of people because I thought they were awful.
So he's agreeing with Destiny's impression of what he was doing. Okay, that is even further shocking. I thought he would probably not want to cop to stuff Destiny had said specifically, because he seemed to fucking hate Destiny. I mean, who doesn't? But I mean, he's coming off well. He's coming off relatively humble here.
For months and months, I refused to believe that I was the problem. I put my head down and I kept working because I just kept telling myself that people were going to stop caring and the whole thing would blow over. I really wasn't comfortable with saying anything like this for a long time, but truly my character was the only thing stopping me from facing my mistakes, and I am ashamed of that. My behavior in the past 6 months is not something I stand behind proudly. I again want to apologize to Matt and Ryan and everyone else involved in this situation, regardless of if I agree with them or disagree with them. There's not a single person who I did not let down with my actions, and I am so sorry for using my platform destructively. I also want to specifically apologize for the carelessness used in how I talked about Matt and Ryan's late friend Daniel. It is concerning and cruel, to say the least, that I was not more immediately outspoken against the way that Daniel was talked about in other people's videos, including my own, and the fact that I believed that this information was relevant at all to this story is ridiculous. I convinced myself that I was...
He is taking... What do you mean he's not taking the blame for himself? Are you retarded? He said like 6 times, this was an issue with my character. I was motivated by money. He said, what are you on about, you fucking moron? Neck? Just neck?
Reporting the true testament of someone's character, when in reality I used someone's tragedy to push an agenda. I was blinded by this hate that I had on behalf of people who were close to me, and it led me to do and say some pretty awful things.
Yeah, I heard they're having a sale on ropes and rickety stools.
Learning just how much growing I have to do and how flawed I really am has been the hardest but probably most important lesson I have learned in my life so far. I would not be making this difficult of a decision if it were not for the people who were this persistent about...
He said, I was blinded by my motivation for money and clout, is what he said. Saying I was blinded, as if he was just like caused to be blind by some force that he's just not describing. No, he said I was blinded because I was too focused on my career and getting out content consistently and quickly. That's what he said. Are you retarded?
My bad behavior, and I am grateful that I have been given this many chances to finally take a hard look at how I've been handling myself, my platform, my content for the past 3 years. I spent months responding to a controversy that removed blame from my actions, and it wasn't until now that I realized it's time for a change. My content reflects who I am, and for years now I've been making content that I do not want to be remembered by. I'm not proud of having a career made from ridiculing people and acting like I know better and that I'm worthy of judging them time and time.
Well, okay, that's gay. That's gay. It's base to make a career out of belittling people, mocking them, and acting like you know better, actually. That's pretty based. But you've got to own it.
Time again, I excused my gross behavior, and I cultivated an audience around pretending that I'm a better person than those I criticize. I know that I'm capable of being more than this, and that is going to start with immediately changing the content I make to be more intentional, constructive, and meaningful to me. I apologize to those who have watched my content at any point over the last 3 years, and I am committed to improving my character and learning from my mistakes over my time on YouTube. I also want to apologize to any survivors of sexual assault that were disappointed or hurt by the way I've handled this story. It is disrespectful beyond words the way that I have used this story to defend my own actions, and I am sorry.
Like, what is this terminal retard going on about? He's blaming other people. How is this blaming other people? What?
Won't be making this mistake again. I want to thank those who have given me the time and the chance to apologize and make things right, including loved ones of mine who have helped me grow to a place where I can understand that I can be better than this. Thank you for taking the time to hear me out.
Yeah, I mean, I heard you out. You've impressed me. That was a good apology, but it will be made or broken by the next videos you make, ultimately. But I went into that. I hated this guy. And you know me, I love expressing hatred towards someone. But listen, this was a perfectly good apology video. We just need to, you know, see how it goes.